The New York Jets now have more cash to spend. It is cash release day here for the New York Jets. The Jets have freed up $13.5 million with the post-June-1 cuts of both Aaron Rodgers and CJ Mosley officially being completed. What can the Jets do with this extra cash? How does this affect their summer strategy when it comes to potentially a late push in free agency? We'll talk about that and much more all coming up here on a Monday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, joined as always by our guy Nick Faria of JetsXFactor.com. Let's go.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer, and Jets legend, Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
What is going on, everyone? Hello, and welcome back here into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk. Appreciate you all joining us here on this Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Smash that like button and hit subscribe on your way into the building. It's completely free, and it helps us grow significantly. You got any questions? You can throw those in the chat, and you can call into the show with the pinned comment. The paid way to help contribute to the show, which really goes a long way, so you can get into our membership raffle. Every membership gifted or $2.99 super chat gives you an opportunity to win a triple signed photo containing signatures from Santana Moss, Wayne Corbett, Lavernius Coles, a Don Maynard signed photo, an Al Toon signed photo, a free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji. Every $2.99 super chat or gifted membership will get you an entry into that raffle and an opportunity to win. One quick plug here before we get started. I've officially launched a Brooklyn Nets channel with my guy Josh Williver. Just threw the link in the chat, so please go shoot us a sub. We put the first welcome video out today. It's going to be daily content. We're almost at 100 subscribers, so please bounce over there and shoot us a quick sub. We appreciate all of your support, as always, here on the program. But joining me right now here on the show to talk all things New York Jets, the great Nick Faria of JetsXFactor.com. Nick, it's June 2nd, and man, there's a lot to talk about with the New York Jets in June.
A lot to talk about. The final cuts have finally come across Darren Rodgers and CJ Mosley. So the era of Rodgers, the era of stars in Florham Park has officially come to an end.
Absolutely. And you released an article earlier today for Jets X Factor where you kind of broke down the three ways the Jets can use this extra cash that they have now, freeing up $13.5 million in cap space. The three routes you laid out that the Jets could potentially take is using the money to extend young stars in Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, address some key holes on the roster, and push off until 2026. Nick, that said, those three options you laid out in the article, which route do you think is the best for the Jets to take with this extra $13.5 million?
I think you can have a little bit of both the first and third option. I'm always of the belief that if you're an organization, you're a well-run organization, you are extending your young talents early. Now, there are some general managers that look at those kind of extensions and say it's not worth it, mostly because they look at it as a way to say, listen, we're paying this guy off of potential. What if an injury happens? Not to say that's what all general managers think, but that's what some do think. That's what the Jets' predecessors did in this exact same position. They did not like giving long-term extensions to players when they did not have to. We don't know if Darren Mougey is along that same line, if he wants to extend players early. We don't know yet. But history shows, around the NFL shows, that it is better to extend players earlier than you have to get ahead of the market. If that means getting ahead and maybe some of those earned cashes are a little too early, where a player does not reach that full potential, so be it. But you're allowing yourself the ability to stay flexible, not just this offseason, but in next offseason as well. Remember, it's not just Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson that need contract extensions. It's Jermaine Johnson. It's Elijah Vera-Tucker. It's John Simpson. Next offseason, it's going to be Joe Tippmann and Will McDonald. So there are a lot of difficult decisions that the regime has to make. That's why if you can get some of these deals done now, it at least puts yourself in a little bit more of a flexible situation to be able to do both. Extend your players now, but then also save some cash for the future.
Now, Nick, do you think that said, let's say the Jets push this off until next offseason completely and say, we're going to wait till next offseason to get a deal. Jeremy Fowler told me of ESPN that the Jets have already made initial contract offers, but let's just say the Jets push this down the road until next offseason. Do you think the price tag on Sauce Gardner or Garrett Wilson could potentially raise a little bit by waiting another offseason? Who are those players you think could raise the price tag?
Well, I think you're right off the top. It's those two. You look at Jermaine Johnson as another one that could probably earn a lot of money after this season. I don't think the Jets are going to get a long-term extension done with Johnson specifically. But AVT, if he plays a full season, I mentioned this earlier today on Boy Green. You look at Simpson, you look at AVT, you want to be able to keep both guards. It would be very foolish to let one walk in free agency. Because if both are going to hit the open market, you are not going to be able to afford these players, even with a substantial amount of cap space. The guard market and offensive line market has exploded in free agency to the point where it is just ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous.
Yep.
I look at where the Jets are right now. I look at a team that says, listen, we want to retain our young talent. AVT is going to have to show he can stay healthy for a full season consistently and play at that high level. We know when healthy, he's one of the best guards in football. Can he stay healthy for a full 17 games? That's the big question for him this season. If he can, he's going to be one of the higher paid guards in football after this season. It's just a big if it's with the Jets. They get that deal done in February if that's the case, if they get it done in the middle of the season. Or they simply just say, we'll let you hit the open market, and he will probably leave somewhere else with a deal right around $18, $19 million a year. I certainly can see something like that happening.
And that kind of leads me to my next point, Nick. I want to get into this offensive line because you mentioned AVT there. He's a first-round pick. Same goes for 3 of the Jet starters on the offensive line. They have 3 first-round picks, a high second-round pick in Joe Tippmann, and then a free agent gem in John Simpson. What do you think is the level that you think the Jets offensive line is going to need to play up to? Do you think they're going to be a top 10, top 7 unit in the league this season?
I think they have the potential to be a top 5 unit. I really do. I look at this offensive line. They've got talent everywhere. You've got Pro Bowl caliber talent right off the bat at every single position. And like I mentioned before, very few teams have this level of offensive line play, that offensive line potential that you are looking for in this group. Now, are they going to hit top 5 this season? Probably not. A lot of them are still young. You don't know what you're going to get out of Armand Membu. You want to see a little bit more out of Olu Fashanu. All these things have to come into play. So I think right now you're looking at a top 10 offensive line with the potential to be even better as the year goes on.
Luppy cuts the line with the $2 super chat. He says, Nick, will Clemens be on this team week 1? Luppy, appreciate the $2, my friend.
It's a great question. As of right now, I think by default that is going to be the case simply because there's really nobody else. Now, with this extra cap space, could a player like Von Miller walk in the door and be that third situational edge rusher along with Tyler Barron? I think that's certainly in the cards.
Wow.
Look at. You look at all these other different ways. Maybe the Jets look and say, you know what? We're going to bring in a free agent before training camp and allow them to compete for a job with Michael Clemens. That could certainly happen. But as of right now, that has not happened. So I have to say that I think Clemens is going to be on the team week 1. Whether he plays a lot or nothing, that remains to be seen.
We got a question here from our guy Chris B, who says, Nick Faria, thoughts about possibly our New York Jets adding a linebacker like Jawan Bentley, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Shaq Thompson, etc.?
I think they're set at linebacker. I really do. Jamian Sherwood, Quincy Williams, that's a really good linebacker duo. They're a little undersized in terms of overall strength, but they're solid against the pass. They're both sideline to sideline linebackers, which fits this modern league role. So I don't think they necessarily need a linebacker right now. I think they're pretty good with that depth.
I mentioned Jawan Bentley a little while before the draft as a name I think the Jets should go after, but now, they drafted Francisco Mauigoa in the 5th round, so I think they're pretty much all set at the linebacker position. And Nick, you were obviously at rookie minicamp, which we broke down a couple weeks ago. You've been at Jets OTAs when the practices have been open to the media. Is there any UDFA who's really caught your eyes as of late?
Yeah, I like Quentin Skinner. He's made a couple of plays, the receiver. He's looked pretty solid. There hasn't necessarily been a major one that I look at and says, oh, this is a guy that can turn some heads at this point. That could always change once the pads come on. I don't think we were really looking at Xavier Gibson, at least I wasn't, as a player that could make the roster during OTAs. He really came on in the middle of training camp, but that's where he earned his roster spot, also on special teams as well. So it's still a little early for the UDFAs to make a massive impact. I've liked what I've seen from Skinner at times, but it's still a wait and see on a lot of these guys.
What about Jamal Pritchett? I wrote it up for Jets X Factor the other day. Chris Banjo praised Pritchett. Pritchett is a name I've spoken about for a little while now. I tabbed him in a Jet X column as a name who could potentially take over Xavier Gibson's job if he has a strong summer. This is a guy who's super small, 5'7", under 160 pounds. He's going to be that like Greg Dortch type spark plug guy who you can put and give you return value, but he also led the Sun Belt Conference in receiving yards at South Alabama last year. Do you think Pritchett could make a push at this roster potentially?
He absolutely can. We're still in the early process, like I mentioned. We're still in the early process of this whole decision-making. There are going to be a lot of guys competing for that punt returner spot. It's not just Xavier Gibson's role to win just because he was there before. I mean, I think Nkwonu is I would say, penciled in as kick returner right now because of the success last year, because he returned one for a score. You know what you have in him. He's a really solid returner, but punt returner is a little bit more of a question because you can throw in, you can throw in a guy like Gibson. You can throw in a guy like Pritchett. You can throw in,
Arian Smith.
You look at Arian Smith, they're trying him out and they want to see what they have in him. If he looks as calm returning punts as we have seen, he's certainly in that consideration as well.
Are you confident in the fact that Chris Banjo could potentially try to revamp this special teams unit? Because 2023, the special teams unit was among the league's best, and last year just told a completely different story with the missed kicks from Greg Zuerlein. Thomas Morstead had a fine season, but it certainly wasn't his best, wasn't as great as his 2023 campaign. Jets move on from both those guys. Banjo comes in at a young age of 35 years old, who only has 2 years of coaching experience at the NFL level, both with Mike Westhoff in Denver with the Broncos, where the Broncos were a top special teams unit these past years. Are you confident in Chris Banjo getting these young guys in the building and potentially making the special teams unit one of the league's best like 2023?
Yeah, I certainly think it's in the cards. And probably the biggest reason why is the fact that Banjo fits what Aaron Glenn wants. When he hired his coaches, he wanted instructors, guys who could teach the system that they want to run, teach a system that works for these particular players. And you've already seen that with Tanner Engstrand. You saw that with Steve Wilkes, and you're seeing that with Chris Banjo as well. I think the Jets, when they were hiring these coordinators, I think Banjo was a very underrated part of this hiring process.
Luppy comes back and says, what wide receiver will emerge as number 2, or will it have to happen by bringing someone in?
So, asking me right now before the pads come on, I'll say I think Allen Lazard will probably be wide receiver 2 to start the year. Again, things can change. I will say there's going to be some hardy competition. Tyler Johnson, these guys, another veteran that you could potentially rely on. Do not sleep on Arian Smith. I've said this repeatedly now for a couple of weeks. If he continues to show out the speed and he develops in a way where he is not blown off the ball in pads, which is obviously a big concern for him and his body type, he's going to be in contention for wide receiver 2. I really do believe that he could carve a role for himself early this season. So there are a lot of different receivers that can get this wide receiver 2 role. I do want to stress that the position is not going to be as big of an emphasis for the Jets, or it shouldn't be as big of an emphasis as it has in years past. Justin Fields is a 1-2 read guy. And really what it's going to be this year is look to Garrett Wilson, look to the tight end, take off scrambling, and see what you can do from there. That has been his MO in Chicago. That was his MO in Pittsburgh. It's most likely going to be his MO in New York, and that's why I think the wide receiver 2 position, it's not that it's not important, it's just not going to be a major focal point of this offense.
Last one here before we let you go, Nick, from Kyle Clifton, who drops in and says, I think Von Miller is too small for Glenn. That's why McDonald has bulked up.
It added an edge rusher. That name that I brought up was just kind of throwing a dart at a wall. it could very well be that they try to bring in an edge rusher to compete with Michael Clemens for a roster spot. They've got some undrafted free agents. I think Tyler Barron's a guy that could play and perform like a JFM style of player, where he is going to be that sort of run defender turned pass rusher in situational moments that you can rely on. And then also there's Jermaine Johnson. If Johnson's able to start training camp on a high note and he can show that he's well past his Achilles injuries, not saying it's going to happen, but it's certainly a possibility, that changes the whole trajectory of this defensive line, at least going into the new season.
Can we get you for one more quick one here, Nick?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Great one from Kyle, who says, how many offensive linemen and who's the last one in? Best guess.
Ooh, I am always someone who says teams should take 10 offensive linemen to their roster. I completely disagree with the notion that 9 need to be 9 is necessary. I think you get up to 10. Ah, man, that's close. So you've got Fashanu, you've got Simpson, Tippmann, AVT, Membu, Myers, Carter Warren, Max Mitchell, Xavier. Trying to think.
Laval could what about that German guy, Lander Wigan? Has he caught your eye at all?
I think he's more of that Mailata pick where they're just going to stash him on the practice squad for a long time. Wait to see how he develops. You know, there's so many different ways.
Okorafor, that's who you were missing.
Thank you, Okorafor. I appreciate it. I knew I had a name off there. But there's your 10.
Absolutely. Nick, we appreciate you sparing some time for us, though. You got any final thoughts?
Nope. We got OTAs tomorrow. It's going to be an exciting day, so follow along. Of course, we'll go have the breaking tweets as always.
Nick, have a great night, my friend.
You too, Maddie. Thank you.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, Nick Faria gracing us with his presence here on the program as he does every single Monday evening. We appreciate all of your support, sticking with us here on this Monday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk. Make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free, and it helps us grow significantly here on the channel. You got any questions for us? Well, you could throw those into the chat. You call into the show with the pinned comment. Every $2.99 super chat or gifted membership gives you a raffle entry and an opportunity to win a triple signed photo consisting of a Santana Moss autograph, Winkerbed autograph, Lavernius Cole signature, Don Maynard signed photo, Altoon signed photo, a free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji. Every $2.99 super chat or gifted membership will give you an entry. We appreciate all of your support as always, and please make sure to get in on the membership raffle. It's a great way to help us grow. Like I said, you call into the show with the pinned comment or all your questions in the chat. I'm your host, Connor Long, here with you on NY Flight Jets Talk. I can't thank you enough for all of your support as always here on the show. We'll get to some of your questions. Let's see. We'll kick it off with our guy Matthew, Highlight Haven. Go over, shoot Matthew a sub. Matthew does a great job covering his Commanders and the entire NFL. He says, great episode, Connor. Appreciate that, Matt. Thoughts on what you've seen from phase 3 of OTAs? Matt, I've been on the record saying this several times on this program. I don't put too much stock into the on-field play on OTAs. Probably the biggest takeaway I've seen this is tough. The biggest takeaway that I've seen throughout Jets OTAs is the fact that Arian Smith has been thriving, and the fact that he's taking reps on special teams. I know I said I don't put too much stock in the on-field play, but the fact that Arian Smith, there hasn't been any concerns with Arian Smith whatsoever. That's what I'll say, because he was the most polarizing draft pick. Now you get onto the practice field, it looks like he fits right into what the Jets are trying to do. So contradicted myself a little bit there, but I probably have to say Arian Smith coming in and thriving right away. Maybe my other surprise I'll throw in there is one of the undrafted free agents. A lot of the undrafted free agents, I've liked what I've heard out of them. The undrafted free agent I'd say who stuck out to me the most, though, is Jamal Pritchett. It's good to see him back there getting regular reps as a kick returner. That's something I really like to look forward to. I've been a big fan of Pritchett since the Jets signed him. So, hey, potentially he cracks a spot on this roster. Before we get any further, before we keep it going with your questions, our guy Luppy drops in and drops a 5-pack of gifted memberships. What does Aaron Glenn have to say?
Here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
My man Luppy came in with a super chat earlier. Now he drops 5 memberships. Luppy, you're the man. Thank you so much for your support. Danette Randall, PBM, Lawrence Yance, Zalex, Aaron Horn. You were all channel members. Thanks to our friend Luppy. Luppy, that is 5 more raffle entries for you guys. Again, every $2.99 super chat or gifted membership earns you a raffle entry. We appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much, Luppy. You are the man. Again, keep your questions coming and call into the show with the pinned comment. We'll stay on here a little longer. here on the show. And again, if you missed it earlier, Josh Wolliver and I, my good friend, are officially starting up a Brooklyn Nets YouTube channel. I just threw it in the chat. Even if you're not a Nets fan, dropping over there right now, hopping out of this show quickly, hitting subscribe and coming back really helps me. And Josh and I personally, we're on. Did we hit it? Let's see. We started the channel today, did a little intro video, and we did hit it. We're officially at 100 subscribers on the channel. It's going to be a daily Nets podcast with live streams, with videos. So please click that link in the chat and hit us with a subscription on the Brooklyn Boys Show. That's the name of the channel. We just hit 100 subscribers. So please, please, please go over and support us. Daily content there. I just threw the link in the chat. Please hit subscribe. We appreciate all of your support here on the program. Let's keep going with some of the questions. Playmaker Cuts comes in and he says, what do you predict the Jets record to be? And if you say they make the playoffs, do they make it past the first round? I'm not doing any playoff predictions. I don't have the Jets making the playoffs. I have them going 8-9, which tends to be more optimistic than most. The way I look at it is the major flaws from this team stem from coaching, and I think the Jets significantly upgraded their coaching staff this offseason. I'm very confident in Justin Fields. Do I think he's ultimately going to hit his ceiling right away in year one with the Jets as a top 10 NFL quarterback, which I think he can be? Not per se, but I think he can definitely be a top 15 quarterback at the NFL level. And if Justin Fields is able to play that caliber of football, the defense lives up to the expectations we've set for them, I think this Jets team could be an 8-9 team, and that's what I predict them finishing with. And I'm be more than happy with an 8-9 record, in my opinion. First year of a new regime, a lot of moving pieces, a new quarterback. If this team could go 8-9, I'd be very, very happy. Zachary Burner comes in. He says, if you could predict Arian Smith wide receiver position on the depth chart, what number is he? I say if he keeps up at the pace that we've been hearing, he's wide receiver 3 on this team. That's what I'll say. He's wide receiver 3 on this team. I think, obviously, you have Garrett Wilson at number 1. I think Josh Reynolds will be number 2, and then Arian Smith at number 3. But let's keep in mind, the Jets aren't very deep at wide receiver, so wide receiver 3 is like a premium wide receiver 2 role on any other football team. So, Arian Smith, if he's wide receiver 3, he's most definitely going to play a big role on this football team. And that's the bottom line, without a doubt. He's going to play a big role, in my opinion, especially if he keeps up at this pace that we've been hearing at the OTAs. I'd say he's a wide receiver 3 on the depth chart. Yours is, how do you think the defense looks? I think the defense is going to mix and match philosophies. That's pretty much what Steve Wilkes has come out and said between man and zone. And I think it's going to create I think it's going to be tough for offenses to beat the Jets defense. And I think that's what you want, really. I think the Jets have the personnel to play a lot of man, to press up. Brandon Stevens is a puzzling free agent signing, but Steve Wilkes and Aaron Glenn have their reasons as to why they inked Stevens to a pretty lucrative 3-year deal this offseason. I think the Jets defense could be a top 10 unit, and I think they will be. The main concern that we had last year, and was a massive problem last year, that you hope gets fixed this year, is the team's ability to stop the run. That's what lost them so many football games in the beginning of the year, getting gashed play after play. The Jets can't afford that to happen. So the Jets need to stop the run one way or other. It was their decision not to draft the defensive tackle. It was their decision to not sign. They signed Derek Nottie in free agency, but in my opinion, not a reliable option behind Quinnen Williams. That was all their decisions. So now they have to take that and they have to win football games after they blatantly ignored that position all offseason long. They have to win football games now. There's no excuses, and they have to be able to stop the run. Point blank, period. Nathan comes in, says, what is your predictions for standings in the AFC East? I think Bills, Pats, Jets, Dolphins. Literally, I have the exact same standings as you, Nathan. I have the Bills going 13-4. I have the Pats going 9-8. I have the Jets going 8-9, and I have the Dolphins going 6-11. That is my prediction for the AFC East this year. So I think the Jets come in with third place. Third place 8-9 team indicates a competitive division. If the Jets finish with that, that's my prediction. I think that's what's going to happen. If they finish with that, however, I'll be very, very happy. This team, I think, could win up to 10 games. I can't have this team win under 5 games. They just have too much talent, in my opinion, to win 5 games or less. That's the bottom line. If I literally think the Jets' floor is 4 or 5 wins. I think the Jets can win 4 or 5 games based on talent alone. That's my opinion. I think they can win 4 to 5 games purely based on talent. That's how much talent I think the Jets roster has. Do they have any pieces I think you can build a franchise around? No, because they don't have a quarterback. But they have pieces all over the team. Like, maybe you just didn't see it last year because they weren't fully unlocked, but Quincy Williams was an all-pro in 2023. Jamie and Sherwood played top 10 linebacker football last year. The Jets have 3 first-round picks and a high second-round pick on their offensive line. They should be a top 10 unit this year. I think a lot of people forget that if the offensive line plays well, the whole team is going to be elevated. That's the beauty of allocating high draft picks towards offensive linemen, because they elevate the entire offense, not just one position room, the entire offense. And I think that's the biggest thing. Our guy, Purple Belt Mike, comes in with a $10 super chat. PBM, thank you so much for all your support, my friend.
You play to win the game.
You got to look at a realistic approach here.
Absolutely. PBM, we appreciate the hell out of you, my friend. $10 super chats. Just keep growing your channel. You are Paw Don under Jedi. Jake, keep up the good work. Salute. PBM, my man, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for all your kind words here on the channel. That get you 5 raffle entries, guys. Every $2.99 super chat or gifted membership gets you a raffle entry and an opportunity to win several prizes in this month's membership raffle, including a photo containing signatures from Santana Moss, Wayne Corbett, and Lavernius Coles, a signed Don Maynard photo, an Altoon signed photo, a free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji. So get in on that raffle if you haven't already. Great way to help support the show, and we appreciate the hell out of all you guys. You're the best. Again, keep the questions coming. We'll stay on here a little longer. You can call into the show with the pinned comment. Let's head over to the phone lines. This guy put a comment in the chat earlier, and he joins us now. Matthew, what is going on, my friend? You are on NY Flight Jets Talk, brother.
Connor, how you doing, man?
Can't complain. How's the show?
It's going good, but man, I appreciate you taking my call. I just wanted to talk about the center position. I know you were talking about Josh Myers and Joe Tippmann earlier, and I kind of just wanted to talk about that position battle because I think right now Tippmann is the favorite, I would say, but obviously Myers was with Justin Fields at Ohio State, and then when you have Aaron Glenn there, he saw a lot of Myers in Green Bay over the past 4 years. So I think he kind of knows what he's getting with Myers on the squad. So I just want to ask, maybe do you see Myers making that push, fighting for that starting role before the start of the year?
So, Matthew, I really don't think it's much of a competition. I don't think this is anything more than Aaron Glenn just trying to stir up that, well, no one spot on the depth chart is safe. That's the way I view it. Josh Myers, I think he's a top 32 center in the NFL. I think he's a starting caliber center. Is he a top 21? I don't think so. I think he's in that bottom tier. So, in my opinion, Josh Myers got paid backup money. Josh Myers is an incredible depth piece. You start the guy who, in my opinion, was a top 10 center last year, and you used a second-round pick on just a few years ago. I think that's the guy you decide to give the starting center job to. That's the bottom line for me.
Yeah. I think another position battle I wanted to look at was Josh Reynolds and Allen Lazard. I know both those guys aren't necessarily going to get a lot of targets. There's going to be a heavy distribution that there's, going to be in that wide receiver core. But Reynolds, it's his first year. Lazard was there last year. What's that going to look like as we get closer to the 2025 season?
So Reynolds played on the same team that Aaron Glenn was coaching with in the Detroit Lions just a few years ago. Allen Lazard and Josh Reynolds are actually pretty similar receivers. They share pretty similar strengths. I think the way the battle is going to look is, number one, I don't know if Allen Lazard's going to be on this football team. I think there's a chance the Jets still do ultimately cut him, or I think there's a chance the Jets deal him if Aaron Rodgers decides to play football. Potentially, that could be a team. We heard the Pittsburgh Steelers in general, aside from all the Aaron Rodgers hoopla, they're looking to add another playmaker. Potentially, that could be a destination. I'd say Josh Reynolds has the upper hand right now, in my opinion. He has the connection to Aaron Glenn. He's been more consistent. I think he's a better blocker, although Lazard is certainly a serviceable run blocker. So I think those are I think this position battle, the wide receiver 2 position battle you just laid out, is going to be way more competitive than the so-called center battle.
Yeah. I appreciate you taking my call. And if you're watching this, sub to the Brooklyn Boys YouTube channel.
Appreciate you.
Let's get him to 125.
Oh, yeah.
By the end of tomorrow, 125.
Matt, you're the best. Have a good night, man.
You too.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Heiserman checking in here on the show. Matthew does a great job. Sub to his channel, Highlight Haven. Matt, appreciate you. Appreciate all of your support here on the program. And yes, listen to Matt. I'll throw the link in again. Subscribe to the Brooklyn Boys podcast with Josh Wolliver and I. Just threw the link back in the chat. Daily Nets content. Even if you're not a Nets fan, if you're not a basketball fan, just click over there. Hop over there for a second, please. Hit subscribe. Helps me and Josh. It goes a long way. And if you're not a basketball fan, it doesn't matter. It still helps the algorithm. It still helps us get our show pumped out there. So please hit subscribe. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. Peter Castro comes in and says, Fields a lot better than you think. Peter, I know you're very high on Justin Fields. I'm very high on Fields. I don't know if you got the beginning of the show. I think he's going to be a top 15 quarterback in the NFL this year. I think he could be a top 10 guy. Like, Justin Fields has all the tools. I wrote an article today. I wrote an article earlier today for Jets X Factor on Brian Baldinger, and who was at Jets OTAs, praising Justin Fields for the way he looked on the field. And this is the exact closing line I had, Peter. I have it right on my laptop down below. And I quote, if Justin Fields can grow as a passer this summer, he has the tools to become the New York Jets' long-term answer under center. The Jets gave him the tools to succeed. He has the personal traits to succeed. Now there's no excuses. This is his last opportunity. He has to show this season, no matter what, that he is a starting caliber NFL quarterback. That is the bottom line. No ifs, ands, or buts. He had an opportunity in Chicago. I don't think it was a fair opportunity. He had an opportunity in Pittsburgh. Don't think it was a fair opportunity. Blew both those opportunities, however. Now he has a fair opportunity, and it's his third NFL stop in 4 seasons. He has to prove he can win football games. Nathan says, do you think if Fields is the top 15 quarterback, this team's getting 9+ wins? I have him being a top 15 guy and have them getting 8 wins, definitely in that window. I think if he's a top 15 guy, they win more than 7 games. I think the difference between 7 and 8 wins is immense, in my opinion. I mean, the Jets haven't won more than 7 games in over a decade, which is just befuddling. Haven't won more than 7 games in a decade. So I think the difference between going 7-10 and 8-9 is huge. And I think the Jets will go 8-9 this year. But they could. If you're looking with the glass half full, you're in my range. You're in the 7 to 9 win range. If you're looking at the glass half empty, I don't think they could be this bad. But some people can look in the 2 to 4 win range. Like that's the big difference. Like I think there's a big difference between this team's ceiling and this team's floor. I think they can win 10 games this season. I really do think they can. I think they'll win 8 games. I don't think they will win 10 games. They can, yes. Josh on the Brooklyn Boys account. Again, please go subscribe to the Brooklyn Boys podcast with Josh and I. Connor, what's with the Boston merch? Boston University. My mom went to Boston University, so I just, I'm burnt out. I was doing a lot of review for these stupid final exams I have in school, so I was like, it's a comfortable shirt. I'm like, I'll just throw this on for the show. Appreciate you, Josh, as always. Kyle says if he could stay healthy, is 1,300 yards, 3,400 passing and 800 rushing yards out of the question. Now that he's with his old running mates, Garrett, Ruckert, Myers. I don't think so at all. I really do not think that's out of the question. I think Justin Fields is going to have like 25, 28 touchdowns this year, like kind of similar total. In that similar total range of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers threw for 28 touchdowns. Obviously, Justin Fields is not going to throw for 28 touchdowns. That's just befuddling to me. There's no world, in my opinion, where that happens. Like I think he can throw for 3,400 yards, though. I think he can if the Jets decide to maybe utilize the passing game. Maybe they give him that ability to push the ball downfield that he's never had. I think realistically, we're looking in the 2,800 to 3,000 range. 3,400 is a little high, but he can hit that if the Jets decide to let him push the ball downfield. 800 rushing yards is not out of the question for me by any means. First year with Jets, in 2022, he had over 1,100 rushing yards. I think 800 rushing yards, he could certainly eclipse that. I think he's closer to getting 3,000 passing yards and 800 rushing yards than 3,400 passing yards and 700 rushing yards. I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna kind of still have that leash on him where they don't want him pushing the ball downfield each and every single game, 5 times a game. I don't think he's gonna throw the ball that much. That's the thing. Like I think he's going to throw the ball 375 times this season. Like, I don't think he's going to throw the ball a ton. Aaron Rodgers threw it 549 times last year. Here's a big, big difference. That's almost 200 completion difference. So I don't expect him to pass the ball that much. And out of those 22 passes, 9 of those are quick screens. How much is he really airing the ball downfield? That's the massive question for me. Our guy Aaron Harone wants it on the membership raffle. He comes in with a $2 super chat. Aaron, thank you so much for all of your support here on the program. Says your best stat scenario for Justin Fields. Like a dream, you're looking at a dream scenario. Everything goes right. Glass half full. You're looking at 3,500 passing yards, 1,100 rushing yards, 33 touchdowns. That's the ceiling for me. Kind of somewhere in that range. I don't think he's going to hit it. If I had to make a stat prediction for Justin Fields right now, he's completing 66% of his passes on 375 attempts for 2,800 yards, 900 rushing yards, and 28 touchdowns. That would be my prediction for Fields today. I gave you my ceiling, though. I think he can hit a high ceiling. I just don't think it's going to happen overnight. A scenario that I really like with Fields, if he can get you to the playoffs this year, it doesn't matter if you're a one-round exit. If he could just get you to the playoffs and you're winning due to his success, you might have something there. We've seen it with quarterbacks in the past few years with Baker Mayfield, with Geno Smith. The Jets quarterback coach right now, Charles London, gets credit for reviving Geno Smith's career. So I think Justin Fields can become a really, really good NFL quarterback. This is his last opportunity, though. He doesn't do anything here, it's over. Because the Jets gave him the top offensive line. The Jets are giving him pass catchers. The Jets are giving him a young, innovative offensive mind to tailor a scheme around him. This is the last opportunity for Justin Fields. Simple as that. He's going to eventually have to win football games. He's entering the last year of his rookie contract before we need to get paid an extension. This is it for Justin Fields. This is it for Justin Fields. Entering his 5th NFL year. He's not going to do it 5 years in. When is he ever going to do it? That's the massive question. We'll bring one other caller on before we say goodbye tonight. My co-host on the Brooklyn Boys show. What is going on, Josh?
What's up, Connor? How you doing?
Can't complain. I'm trying to let's see. I'm going to throw the link in one more time. I know we've been pushing it, but please. I see it. And again, 37 of you watching, we appreciate it. 27 likes. So the 10 of you have not hit the like button. Please hit the like button. This channel is still going to be daily, but the Nets channel is also going to be daily. Josh and I co-hosting it together. We're going to have daily Nets content. Guys, again, even if you're not a basketball fan, even if you're not a Nets fan, just hop over there. Shoot us a sub quickly. Helps us grow. We're at 101, so let's make that push for 200, baby.
Absolutely. Good progress on day one. Appreciate you having me on, Connor. But yeah, sub to that show that Connor just tossed in the chat. Appreciate all the support. Jets wise, there's not much. Going back to what Matt said, I do think that the wide receiver room is going to be interesting, but I think this team, for how much talk there's been on the offense, is really going to revolve around the defense because it's a defensive-minded coaching staff. Most of the vets on this team are found on the defensive side of the ball. I think that guys like Quentin Williams, Sauce Gardner take a big-time step forward, and this defense leads the charge. If this Jets team wants to win football games with a quarterback who doesn't have experience winning, with an inexperienced wide receiver core and a young offensive line, I think it all starts on the defensive side.
Nathan has a question for us, then we'll end up wrapping the show. Says, who do you think will be the third edge rusher to start the season, assuming JJ is healthy and we don't sign anyone else? McDonald is JJ is 1 and 2. Give me Tyler Barron.
That's a pretty good pick. I mean, spending a 6th-round pick on a guy when you really have no depth makes a little bit of sense. But, I mean, I think there were a couple other guys that the Jets liked at least last couple of preseasons. Is Braden McGregor a name you're looking at?
Like McGregor, he was too inconsistent for me, though. Never really got too much in-game action. It was a liability against the run. The thing I like about Barron is a reliable run stuffer and a sack artist. He's kind of like a JFM guy he can play a tweener role as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, thank you, Nathan. We appreciate the question. Josh, appreciate you hopping on. You got any final thoughts?
No, sir. Excited to get the Nets show up and running. I didn't catch the beginning part with Nick Faria, but I'll go back and watch that. Let's go Jets.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Willever checking here on the show. We do Next Gen Jets and now the Brooklyn Boys show together. Josh does a great job. So, Josh, appreciate you hopping on, my brother. You're the best. Appreciate all of your support. And we appreciate everyone in the chat. All you guys, you are the best. You guys are the ones who keep the show up and running in June when there's not much to talk about. Peg and Artie, I just saw you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate all of your support here on this channel and now the Brooklyn Boys channel. You guys are the best. Love you all. That'll do it for me here on this Monday evening edition of NY Flight Jets Talk. We're going to keep the show going. You know, the Jets want to give us what Flight Jets Talk and Next Gen Jets. Again, you guys are the best. We appreciate you all. Smash the like, hit subscribe. I'm your host, Connor Long. Have a great night, everyone. And as always, JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets. Peace out, folks.